Welcome to So What's New in the Biscuit Tin. We are on episode 5 and I'm Sam.
And I'm Jess. What are we doing today, Sam? By the
What
time you
are we
guys listen
doing
to this, what are we
today?
doing?
So today we're going to tell everybody some comments and responses we've had to previous episodes. So I'm really enjoying the cyclical nature of what we're doing this season. And we're going to share some things we're loving. But the main topic today, and it could be a contentious one, but that is what this season is about. And I'm not saying that we think this. We're picking titles and then discussing the title. So the title today is Fabric Stashing is Not a Personality.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
as Sam said, when we come up with these, it's not that either of us think it,
Yep.
but it's the sort of debate principle of
Yes.
having a stimulus to work from.
Yeah. So I think, and immediately some of you might be listening going, that's not true or I don't agree, but that's what we'll sort of wrangle out during the episode. And Jess and I don't pre-discuss this, so we don't know what each other thinks. And that's one of the reasons why it feels like two friends having a chat, because we really are having a chat about it.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. And it's such a joy. But before we get to this week's topic, we've got lots of stuff to talk to you about, haven't we?
We do. We really do. So do you want to go first or do you want me to go first, Jess?
Well, I think you should go first, but I'm going to quickly slip in the thing both of us will talk about, which is that right now you could be on your way to listen to us in person. Woo! This is so exciting. We cannot wait. At this point, I'm sure I will be shaking with nerves. And please hoping that lots of you will turn up, please.
Yes.
But we're so excited, and we hope that either you're listening to this on your way there, on your way back, or if you're one of our many, many international listeners, you will also get a recording of the live.
Yeah. So don't worry if you're sitting there going, what? It's today? I'm not there. We are going to put it out, but I just need a bit of time to get it out because I don't know how it's going to go, which some people would be incredibly nervous about. I'm actually really excited about that. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm excited about the podcast element of it.
Yes.
I'm nervous about the audience having one element of it. But the actual being on stage doing the podcast is going to be great. And I love the suggestion from the Southern Social that we should bring an air horn to live censor me. So, there is that which you can look forward to. Just everyone yelling beep, I think was the last suggestion.
Yes, I'll just have a giant beep sign that everyone has to shout it out. Yes. So that's happening right now while you might be listening, or will have happened in the past, depending on when you listen to the podcast. We have something coming up. So if you are listening to this episode when it has only just come out, there is still time to get a ticket. Cue Jess.
Oh, yes. So if you're listening to this right now, you have a whole week until the So Yellow Ferendo reveal and the So Yellow party, which this year Sam is co-hosting with me at the wonderful location of the Southern Social, the Wade Centre in Princess Risborough. You can grab your tickets from Eventbrite. They will be linked in the podcast description. They are on my Instagram. They're on my YouTube. At this point, I will send it to you in semaphore. Please grab yourself a ticket. They're £7 with a £5 donation to Endometriosis UK. So really, it's a party for £2. And come along, wear whatever you like. Ideally yellow, but just come along.
No one's going to be turned away at the door if they don't wear yellow.
No, there's not like a chart, where we check how yellow you are. No, just turn up, have a great time. You can buy some fabric from our 2 pop-ups from Fabric Obsession and Wilder Fabrics, who are one of our local shops in Tame. And there will be drinks, snacks, and just generally nice vibes. This is the 3rd year we've run it, and I'm so excited.
And
so
admire.
Grab yourself a ticket.
The many, many meters of bunting that the Southern Social have sown.
I'm tempted to do, those guess how many sweets in the jar?
Yeah.
I'm tempted to do put in £1 and guess how many pennants of bunting.
I think we should, because I have in my front room multiple bags of it that people gave me last Sunday because they're not going to be able to see me before then. There were people sewing it at the Southern Social.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Mary has claimed the verb to bunt. Just brilliant. So it's become a whole ecosystem of its own.
I love that. That's brilliant. Mary's such a joy. Um,
Yeah.
Thank you, by the way, to anyone listening who made bunting. I appreciate
And
you
he's still
going out to
making it.
explain. Yeah, and it's still going. If you're still going,
Yeah.
well, if you're still going by the 20th, I'm so sorry. But thank you so much. But we've got lots of other exciting things coming up as well. I would also like to take this opportunity to say a very quick hello to everybody who's doing their long run while listening to this podcast. I know there's loads of you, and we're coming up to London Marathon season. So well done. You're doing really well. Keep going. And a special hello to Judy, running so and so, who's either running or walking out with her dog while listening to this. So hello. Have a great time. We do the occasional shout out, but I love the number of soists I now have on Strava who
Yeah.
it's so weird because we only know each other through Instagram, but we're all there like woo for our long runs, and it's really really nice. So if you are a running sewist and you want running sewing friends, it's just really nice. And actually, oh god, you know when you say something and I really want to do this, but don't hate me if I don't. I am considering setting up a little, not regularly, might just do it as a one off, but a cute little sewist run club in central London. Because there's so many running sewists who don't know anyone who sews or anyone who runs.
Yeah.
And I run a lot in central London, so I might do that this summer. Stay tuned. But if you're a running sewist who'd be interested in popping along, it would be free. But just as Sam says, you know, if it doesn't exist, you can put it on, and if you build it, they will come, hopefully. So if you fancy it, let me know. So I'm taking inspiration from you.
Woohoo! I had a message today from a lady, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but her friend did tell her last time I shouted her out on here when we were talking about making sewing friends. She set up her own social in the York area. Well, she had her very first one today, and everyone loved it. Today is in the day we're recording this. Everyone loved it, and there's going to be more dates. So love that, and love that people are putting themselves out there, and as I say, putting their big girl pants on.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic. That is so exciting. And congratulations to that person as well, because
Mm.
how amazing. Like,
Uh,
I'm so happy
yeah.
for you. Can I do my, we bring a thing we like to every
Yeah.
episode. Can I do mine at the top of the episode? Because I've not
Oh,
told you this yet.
we can break any rules we want, Jess. Go for it.
So I wouldn't normally, but I've realised that when this episode comes out, this will have already happened. So it's weird to put it at the end as like a.
Okay.
Do you watch Strictly?
Kind of sometimes, but not as much as I used to. I used to love
Yeah.
it, but I got a bit
But are you
like,
aware of like the old school professionals who may
yes.
still be in the show, who've been it the whole time? Guess who I'm meeting on Monday the 16th? This is
Anton
insane.
de Beck.
I am meeting Anton Dubek on Monday. I'm so excited. So basically, Endometriosis UK have incredibly kindly invited me to a VIP event for fundraisers, which is really, really cool.
Really
Um,
cool.
I got the email and I did not believe that it was for me in the slightest. I was like, no, that can't be right. But it is. And basically, Anton Dubek's wife has very severe endometriosis.
Okay.
So they're doing an evening with the Dubeks, and they're both going to be speaking and being interviewed by a lady from Sky News, I want to say.
Okay.
And yeah, it's like a drinks and nibbles, and yeah.
Woohoo!
So if I've managed to, in line with this episode, because my mother might kill me if I don't, I will put a selfie of me and Anton Dubek on the podcast Instagram if I manage to get one. I
You
will
need to,
do that,
yeah.
but my mum and grandma have made it very clear that that's not actually optional for me. So hopefully he consents. Really,
Yeah.
that's kind of.
So are you
Kind of where
sewing yourself an outfit for that event?
well, I'm gonna have to, aren't I? Because you can't not really. But yeah, I don't know. I'm filled with panic. So I might use the amazing fabric I won in your raffle from Lindsay
Oh, the
and do
Liberty
something with that.
Biscuit.
But I just haven't decided what I want to do because it's
Jess,
going to
by the
be
way,
tricky. Yeah.
that's sold out now. It doesn't exist anywhere because when I bought it, I was like, this is amazing. It's a raffle prize. I can't have it. It's a raffle prize. And then you won it. And then I was like, I love it so much. And I looked, it's gone. This is it
Oh,
now. No one else can buy this.
Oh god, now I can't mess it up either because I can't do anything about. Oh god.
Mate,
What did
you're
we do
tried and
yesterday?
true.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, tried and
Yeah.
true. But also, it's such an incredible pattern. I feel like it needs something interesting doing with it.
Yeah, in one way, but in another way, sometimes somebody used this amazing quote on my YouTube recently. They said the fabric is either the main character or they're a supporting role. That character, that fabric
Oh,
is bringing main character energy. So does it
yeah.
need much? You know?
Yeah, I guess does it need a main character dress though? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, do I need something with like volume and like
Mm.
the kind of
Well, bear in
thing?
mind, you've only
I
got
don't
2 meters of it. I think 2 or 3 meters. I can't remember how much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. But I'm only 5'2". It's incredible
Yeah.
what I can get out of 2 meters of fabric.
Yeah.
Speaking of, this is proper sewing chat. I hope we get a reel of this. Can I show you something?
Please
It's
do.
next to
You've
me.
got your blurry background on, so it will affect it. So.
Okay, so two things. Firstly, I have made an incredible black lace dress you will have all seen by now. And until yesterday, I forgot I hadn't made anything to go under it yet. And I'm wearing it at the weekend and it's fully see-through. And when I was making it, I just wore like two strappy tops together to like legs.
Well, quick trip to M&S for a slip is all I can say.
Well, I quick trip to the fabric shop and got some black ponted aroma. So I'm going to whip up the
Oh,
Tammy Handmade Leona because
yeah.
that'll take 20 minutes on the overlocker. But while I was there, I got the
Oh,
most
hang
amazing
on.
denim I've ever seen in my life.
I saw a little clip of this on your Instagram today. This is like, okay, you need to describe this for the listeners now.
Okay, so, okay, right. It is, I don't even know how to do this. It is like almost like a denim jacquard. Or not a jacquard, what do I mean? Brocade. Because the
Okay.
back is like the reverse.
Yeah.
And it looks like a chambray denim on top. And then it's got all of these like runs in it.
Yeah.
Because they are, but they don't go all the way through. They're only the top
Okay.
there. So I do think it is like a brocade because the back is the reverse of it.
Okay.
But it
That's
looks
very
like denim.
interesting.
It's so cool. And what I'm going to be doing with this is I'm making another pair of Maison Fauve Hussard jeans.
Nice. That would be a
Because
fun pair of jeans.
exactly, and I just thought
Yeah.
this colour I find really hard on me in the summer, but it's
Mm.
better. My other Hussard jeans are navy, so they don't get much wear in the summer because they're just
That's
a
a
bit
nice
dark.
summer. That's a summer denim colour. That's like a
Right?
a soft blue, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a soft blue, and it's got the bits. They're like the runs in it are like an acid wash. But I'm
Yeah.
so excited about this because it's going to look amazing, right? It's going to look
It's
so
gonna look
cool.
epic. Yeah.
But it's also light enough to do all the Maison the Hussard jean details because it's got all those
Yeah.
pocket pleats, it's got all the different panels. So making it in true denim is a nightmare.
Mm.
Whereas this, I'm trying to wobble it at
Yeah,
you so you
that's
can
gonna
kind
be
of see the
yeah,
drape.
it's a lot drapier, isn't it? It's got a lot more like flow to it. Yeah.
It's almost like a faux denim. So that's where I am at the moment. And I'm actually quite proud of myself for buying what I think is a very practical fabric for my wardrobe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I am a sucker for beautiful viscose, but sometimes you got to be a big girl and recognize you don't have enough trousers.
Yep. I've cut out a fuchsia pair of oxbow pants to make up because actually
Oh.
who doesn't need a fuchsia pair of like high waist jeans in their life, you know? So
I mean, literally no one. Like
yeah.
everyone needs that.
Yeah.
Everyone should have. Actually, I'm putting this out as homework. As we get into spring, spring is colourful trouser season. Experiment. That is your podcast homework. And I
Yeah.
know Sam will agree. Your
Oh yeah.
trousers do not have to be blue or black.
Yes.
They don't. They can
Bold
be any colour you
plain
like.
for a trouser is a fabulous thing. Yes.
Exactly. So that's our instructions for you for spring. Today will be when this episode goes out is the first day of spring proper.
Yeah.
So that's your homework. Wear something that isn't a black pair of trousers.
Yeah. Or navy, you know. It's like
Yeah,
I
exactly.
feel like sometimes, and this might be a bit of a cheeky comment, but sometimes I feel like navy trousers are like the magnolia version of painting a wall white, in that it doesn't feel
Yeah,
as
the
hard
market
as
landlord
black.
special.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, no, I've got
yeah.
navy
I agree.
trousers. Let's not mess around. I have got them, but I do think actually, it's nice to have a bold plain. Go for it, everyone. Pick your favourite colour.
Yeah.
Um,
And also, it doesn't have to be like bright pink with spots either.
No.
It can
Yeah,
be
like a
cream.
yellow ochre or an
Yeah.
emerald green, something
Yeah.
else.
Or like a super light blue. Try
Yeah.
that first,
Forest
So we
forest
also
green. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, forest green's a gorgeous trouser colour. Now,
Yeah,
before we dive into the main episode, we also have a thank you to say, don't
we
we?
do. Yep. So, when we're recording this in the last few days at the beginning of March, the lovely Tamlin has released a YouTube video. So if you're not sure who Tamlin is, her YouTube channel is called Sewn on the Tyne. And Tamlin did a whole episode about her favourite podcast. And guess who was one of her favourites?
I was very flattered. It's very lovely.
Yeah.
So, Tamlin, if you're listening, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We loved having you on the podcast.
Yeah.
And yeah, we really appreciate that you like I think our vibes together. We appreciate that because to us it's just chaos. So I'm really glad it's coming off as like a cohesive, planned vibe.
Yeah. You've got some post-its. I've got 4 words on a notepad.
Do you know? And both of those are new. That's the thing.
Yeah.
4 seasons in, we started writing down what we're meant to be talking about, and goodness me, I think it's made a difference.
Nothing will beat the prep I did for the sleeve episode. You and Sarah were blown away, weren't you?
I've seen undergraduates do less preparation for the assessments I'm marking right now than you did for that sleeve
I
episode.
peaked quite
Maybe I'll
early,
start bringing
didn't
that
I?
up.
Yeah.
It was incredible, and I think we
Yeah.
should revisit it in a couple of
Yeah.
episodes and see how much we remember, because for me, it's gonna be nothing.
And
So
I know a lot
we
more
should try
now,
and do it.
actually. Since then, I've gone on my massive sleeve exploitation. So I know a huge amount more. Can I just say,
Oh,
I am loving how much people are interacting with us this season as well.
I
We
know.
have had comments on reels, we have had comments on episodes, we've had emails. Love it. Loving this because this was the aim of this season, was to have conversation, and it is working. So do you want to talk about seam allowances, Jess?
I do. Give me 1 second to pull up the big list of comments without my phone screaming into my microphone. So
While Jess is doing that, if you haven't listened, in one of the previous episodes, Jess was bemoaning the range of different
moaning is the
seam
correct word, yeah.
allowances. Yeah,
I
the
put
range
the
of
moaning and bemoaning.
the range of different seam allowances in one pattern. I think it reached a peak of 5 different ones, didn't it?
On one single piece.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm still furious about. So I have got a list of comments, helpfully with the sound off. Now, how many of these have you read, Sam?
I've read a fair chunk. I don't know that I've read them all, but I've definitely got a general feel that, like we would hope, it is more of a conversation than a decision.
It is, but I also think it's really interesting the location of the people saying what they're saying.
It's interesting. Yeah.
British people, on the whole, I'm going to pull out 3 particular ones, which is, okay, this would drive me crazy. No, this pattern would go on a never again list for me. And 1 standard seam allowance, 1.5 centimeters with 3 exclamation marks, which is correct. And that comment has been liked multiple times.
And
Actually,
I take issue that I want that in imperial, not metric, please. But
oh yeah, 5/8 of an inch. But
yes.
she's not wrong. That's
No.
that's what it should be. Because there's an actual reason for this. It's not just because we don't like change. Traditionally, patterns always had a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance or 5/8 of an inch because that's enough space to make adjustments. 1 centimeter is doable but awkward. But for example, if you're doing French seams, 5/8, perfect, exactly what you need. If you're trying to do a French seam in a 1 centimeter seam allowance, it is nerve-wracking.
No. But
So
also,
there is a good reason for it.
you can pick your edge finishing with 1.5 centimeters. And as you say, if it's a bit snug, you've got a little bit of room to just release a little bit. And I think that's the
Exactly.
important thing. A seam allowance isn't just there for joining the 2 bits of fabric together.
Exactly. We do have some other comments though. One, which is different seam allowances for different seams, normal, standard. I think this person doesn't realise I mean different seam allowances on the same piece.
Yeah,
So on the front of the bodice, my shoulder had a different to my underarm, different to my centre, different to my hem.
that's too many
Like,
on one piece. Yeah,
we're all used to the fact that collars have a
yeah.
smaller seam allowance than, like, a bodice. That's fine, that's not what we're talking about here. However, someone has said, "I'm just finishing a pattern that has 3 different seam allowances, and wait for it, halfway through the construction, you have to cut some of the larger seam allowances down to a smaller seam allowance and then true the newly smaller pattern pieces to the fabric pieces I'd cut previously." Needless to say, it's driven me a bit mad. Yeah, now
That's it.
that's too much. I want
Yeah.
to message that person, and I want to know who that is so that I never go through that.
Spill the tea.
But we did also get another one, which is that different seam allowances are really common in Russian sewing patterns, apparently. This approach is informed by industrial sewing. I like it this way. I don't have to trim anything and deal with too much fabric in the curves. That is interesting.
It is
I guess
interesting,
if
and
you're
that
trimming them anyway.
but the thing is, right, as you said, with a lot of collars, they are a smaller seam allowance, but sometimes they tell you to grade the seam, same as facings. They
Yeah.
tell you to grade it or to trim it down once you, or like to snip it and then trim it down because it's hard to snip the curve when it's really slim anyway.
Mm. Well, can I
I
throw
just,
something out there?
yeah,
I don't think people grade properly. I see this a lot, and I see people talking about grading almost
mm,
interchangeably with trimming seam allowances.
yeah, it's not the
That's
same.
not the same. Grading, they should all be different lengths because it reinforces the seam. And like
Yeah,
if you grade, for example, if you're doing a collar and you're grading it, they shouldn't all be down because the point of grading is to reduce bulk. So if you cut your 1.5 centimeters, 3 layers of wool, for example, you cut them all down to 1 centimeter, you have exactly the same
yeah,
problem, just smaller. Whereas if
mm,
they're all different lengths, it reduces the bulk and allows it to fold over. So there is a
yeah, yeah.
purpose to grading as well. And again, grading is a lot easier if you have 1.5 centimeters.
Yeah, and also that's what duck-billed scissors are for. You know, that's there's a purpose. There's a tool to help with grading, and I would prefer to have a consistent seam allowance and then be asked to grade because that's a specific instruction in the pattern instructions, rather than constantly trying to find where's the seam allowance for this section. So somebody did say have it all the same and then ask someone to grade it. I saw that someone had written that. I'm with that person, I have to say.
I think that's fair.
Mm.
I'm going to throw something out there. I don't know. Independent pattern companies, let me know, or people involved in the process, because if this is true, they probably won't tell me. But anyone involved in the process, let me know. I think 1 centimeter seam allowances and the rise of is metric laziness. Personally, I think it's easier to add one onto everything than 1.5. Which, I get it. But for those of us who work in Imperial, 3/8 and 5/8 is still not help like, it's not a round number for us. But I
No, but
do think
also
sometimes when I see it, it's not the same. Like they've just gone, oh, we'll stick 1 centimeter on the outside.
yeah, and also it's back to what we said at the beginning, the understanding the purpose of the seam, and it's about a lot of things, including allowing the sewist to choose their finishing method, which is much harder
Yeah.
when you've only got 1 centimetre.
Yeah. But also think about things like trousers.
Yeah.
I had this conversation, I think it's in my DMs. I had this conversation with someone after the last podcast episode. Because like me, they don't trust a pair of trousers that only have 1 centimeter in the crotch. That's gonna
No,
go so quickly.
yeah,
I would like 1.5 centimeters, and I would like to both sew it and overlock it so that if the
mm,
worst happens, there's another layer of stitching in place.
exactly.
Or
Yeah.
flat tail seam it, or French seam it, or whatever. But I don't, if you're listening, independent pattern companies, if you're going to give me 1.5 centimeters anywhere, please do it in the crotch of my trousers so that, I can live my life normally without my trousers splitting because
Yeah.
no woman needs that in their life. Well,
No
no
one
one
needs
needs
that.
that, but
No,
no,
no.
no, thank you. So moving on to, well, we've got a topic today, don't we?
Yes, we do. I think we could have made the topic seam allowances,
I think we could
actually.
have actually. If you want more on this, let us know because I have
Yeah.
thoughts. Would you
I mean,
believe once I have
and
this
it
idea?
and it's great that we are reading what you're sending. I've been reading the comments on like Spotify as well. Somebody did ask, can you review on Spotify? No, but a lot of the other platforms, particularly Apple, you can leave reviews, but on Spotify you can leave comments. So I have been reading them. Somebody was messaged us about the Heidi Klum dress. We'll come back to that in another episode, because we're going to talk about the Chapel Roan one again in another episode. So thank you. Keep it up, because we are reading them. So, Jess, fabric stashing is not a personality. First of all, I want to start with the word stash. Now, this is no shade on the wonderful Yvette and her husband who have Stash Hub.
Yeah, which is phenomenally named
Yeah,
and very
they're
zeitgeisty, and we
amazing.
love it.
And just recently, they've come out with a new part. Have you seen it? Where you can do random project picker. All your projects, you can spin it like a wheel. I love
So
that.
chaotic, and I love it. I love
Yes.
like, that's the right kind of chaos, isn't it? That's like
Yes.
fun
And that
chaos.
goes with what I've been talking about procrastination and all sorts of things. So I love that they've done that. But the word stash hasn't always been around, I don't think, in the sewing world.
No.
Do you?
No, it was never around. So I started sewing 12 years ago, when that was not a thing. And actually, what's really interesting, I grew up surrounded by people who sewed.
Mm,
They had button boxes, they had thread, they rarely had extra fabric.
mm.
If you were doing a project for my mum or my grandma, you'd go and buy the fabric.
Yeah.
They never had fabric in the house.
Yeah.
They'd have their box of sewing stuff. Like, I was up at my grandparents' last week. My grandma still has her old, those old wooden sewing boxes on legs. They've got the
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. My mum's got one
they
of
look
those.
like
Yeah.
little tables. Beautiful. She still has that, but she doesn't have spare fabric really. You might have odds and ends, but I think the idea of buying fabric like this is different.
In the corner of my mum and dad's bedroom, they had like, it was the 80s and the 90s. They had this fitted white sort of like coated wood furniture. So you had the big bank of
Mhm.
wardrobes, and they had like a dressing table that went round and into the bedside table. And so there was like a corner bit that had like a lift up thing. It was probably designed to be like the laundry basket or something. But my mum had in that like spare fabrics, like pieces of duvets or clothes that could be reused. It was just that one little corner of like of bits, and that's what she had. But yes, I remember if I wanted an outfit that she was going to sew me, we'd go to the shop and we'd choose the fabric. Now, I think the word stash is a post-COVID word, I reckon.
Yeah, no, it is. It came about in COVID, and do you know what? I think it has been informed by, firstly, it is now so much easier to buy fabric online. So we tend to buy fabric the way we buy everything else, like quite differently. But also, I vividly remember when I started on Instagram, it was probably a year after I started, maybe 2021, around there. I started seeing memes that were like, fabric buying and sewing are totally different hobbies, which they aren't, to be clear. They're not. Or if they are, I would argue that, and I say this as someone who has plenty of fabric in the house.
Let's be clear, both of us have plenty of fabrics. This is not coming from purity. You don't
No,
have any
no, God,
fabric.
no.
You know?
No, but I think it is. I think it is important, though. I definitely went through a phase of buying fabric because I was like, oh, I don't really have time to sew, but I'm going to look at fabric because that's nice, and that's not the same thing.
Yeah, the dreaming of sewing.
Exactly.
So I think, when I think about it, now I was obviously a head teacher during COVID, so I was working harder than I'd ever worked, spending my time on the M25 with myself and the articulated lorries. But I know for a lot of people, it was suddenly a time when actually a lot of the fabric shops shifted to being online who'd never been online. They'd always been online shops, but a lot of shops went from just being bricks and mortar to online because people
Yeah,
couldn't get to them. And I think quite understandably, for a lot of people, fabric shopping became online shopping became quite a big thing during COVID, because it was something that you could do, and you could dream of all your lovely makes and all the things that you were going to make when the world
yeah,
opened up again. And I think a lot of people came back to sewing or took it up during COVID as well.
yeah, massively, yeah.
And I think the two led to what we see with everything in a country that is a capitalist country, which is the encouragement to buy. Now, we all
Yeah.
know, if you are a regular listener, how big as fans and supporters Jess and I are of independent businesses. So no comment on that. But that kind of whole like buy thing, I think came from COVID. And we're only seeing now, I think, sort of 5, 6 years later, people wanting. I think this is why we've seen a rise in in-person socials. I think it's why we've seen a
Mm.
rise in cocktail style events. People are like,
Yeah.
I'm done with the solitary part of this hobby. I want to be with other people. But I think that's created a whole legacy that includes words like fabric stash that we would never
Yeah.
have had before.
I think so. And I also think the idea of buying without a plan, because buying was something we could do in
Mm.
COVID.
Yeah.
And I think actually, as someone who was sewing pre-pandemic, it was so hard to find fabric online.
Mm.
And it was actually really hard to know where to buy and what to buy and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And I do think post-pandemic, it's become a lot easier to like buy fabric and buy sewing supplies and sort of know where to start. And that's really cool.
And also know the types of fabric, because I think the shops have got
Mm.
way better at making it easy to understand and see and visualize. I mean, the amazing things that some of the shops do, like I know Sew Me Sunshine, you can now see the fabric on like mock-ups to see how the print looks.
I know, I love that.
So I think it's
I
amazing.
love that. I
Yeah.
think as well, so those of you who may know me from early in my online sewing life, in lockdown, I used to review all the sewing shops for fun, really, on
Mm.
my blog, and you can still go back and see all those posts. But I remember reviewing them, and so many of the posts I did, I'd get an email being like, "Oh, we've actually changed this." Because
Mm.
I was inside, I was doing website reviews by day for my job, and then I was trying to buy fabric and going, "Oh my god, this user interface is annoying." But I think everyone learned so fast, and it suddenly became
Yeah.
so much easier
Mm.
to buy fabric, to find, yeah, what it would look like, to find fabric types, to get recommendations. Like, even things like I remember in COVID, there were loads of people who didn't realize that some shops sell fabric by half meter and some sell it by meter.
Yes. Oh, somebody wrote an awful comment about Beyond the Pink Door the other day on Facebook,
What?
which I think was really uncalled for. And I
Really?
will die on this hill if this person ever came to find me. I think it's very unlikely they listen. But so for example, Andrea, I think of Beyond the Pink Door is very good because she does her live so people can see the fabric moving.
Yeah,
And
she's
I think
great.
that's really helpful when you're trying to buy online because it is tricky. There's not a lot of places that people can go. We often get messages from people saying there are no fabric shops near me. And so I think what Andrea does with her lives is really helpful. But a lady didn't read it properly. And so she thought she was getting a massive bargain. She thought she was getting fabric for £3 a metre. So when it turns up and it's only, I think it was half a meter or something, and she'd got one. I don't know. She'd done it all wrong and not read it properly, and then got all stroppy and left a horrible comment because she hadn't read it properly. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
luckily, a lot of people leapt in and were like, "Well, that's not my experience. That's not my experience." But I think as a user, as a customer, you have to take responsibility for reading things yourself. And it is confusing if you don't read carefully. But also, if you're getting something for £3, you have to ask yourself, why is this such a bargain? Now, we know there
Well,
are bargain
exactly.
places, but actually, someone like Andrea, the quality of her fabric at Beyond the Pink Door is phenomenal. And I think that just to take it out on someone else when you've made a mistake really annoys me.
No, I think
Um,
so. And if you bought the wrong thing in Sainsbury's, that would be your fault.
Yeah, if you bought
Like if you
medium
went
eggs and a
into Sainsbury's,
large, yeah,
yeah, exactly. Or if you went into Sainsbury's and got the wrong type of milk because you weren't paying attention, it was all written there for you to see. You just
yeah,
didn't read it. That's
yeah,
your fault. And
yeah,
I think people are much more willing with small businesses to
mm,
say, "Oh, this is terrible, this person," where and they probably wouldn't say it with big business in the
yeah,
same way. But I do think it is really important. I'm really sorry to hear that because Andrea and Beyond the Pink
yeah.
Door, they are a sponsor of So Yellow Ferrendo. They're so lovely.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
actually have to comment because so many other people had leapt on and said various things, including you didn't read it properly. So I was like, the point's been made here. I don't need to say anything.
no,
Did
exactly. And also
I?
just ask if you're not sure.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, I am obviously on a low buy year this year, and so
Yes.
I could be accused of being preachy about that. Um, in that, well, you're on a low buy, so of course you don't think you should buy lots of fabric. But I have been a person who has bought fabric, particularly when I first got right back into sewing clothes again. And I was in that mindset. And I remember when we interviewed a vet actually, and she said, there's always more fabric. And I got suckered into, and I know it now. And I think we can't know differently until we know differently. And I got suckered into the algorithm rewarding excess, and I got suckered into the buy now, it'll go, it'll disappear
Yeah,
mindset.
same.
And no one did it to me. I take full responsibility for that because, as Jess and I have said before, you curate your own feed, your own algorithms, your own life. So that is no one but my own responsibility for that. But I am now coming through that and out the other side. And I think it's been a journey. I've done a lot of reflecting on it. And actually I've turned down quite a few things. I was a bit sloppy with a company recently, because I don't feel comfortable anymore with perpetuating excess. And that's just my personal choice. And I completely
Mm.
appreciate that that's not everyone's choice. And I am working my own way of how to keep supporting independent businesses while not buying as much. Because I think I did at one point think if I buy, this is my way of supporting, but there is other ways to support as well. And it
Yeah,
takes a bit.
I've been thinking the same as well, because how do you decide? Sometimes I go in my head, I'm like, oh well, all for example, I have 40 sponsors who to
Mm,
support Say Yellow Friendo, and they're all people I have bought from at one time.
mm,
But I do feel bad that I can't buy from them super regularly. But I don't have the money to constantly buy fabric. I don't buy fabric very often. And when I do, tends to be from my local fabric shop because A, I want to keep having one 500 meters from my house. But I also really like actually touching. So if it's an expensive fabric, I'd rather get it in person so I can
mm.
actually feel it. But for example, I buy a lot from Somi Sunshine because I know the quality is amazing. And that's kind of one of the top ones on my list, like in my head. Because that's
Mm.
still what happens is you go, oh, I'm looking for this, I'll go look here. But sometimes you do go like, oh, I can't buy from everyone at every time. But you can follow their accounts and you can like things and you can share stuff and you can participate in things. And, like
And leave
you can
reviews.
still support them. Yep,
Yeah.
reviews are a huge thing so other
And if
people can
someone else
find them.
says they're looking for something, suggest places,
Yeah.
share where you find things on whatever platforms or whatever groups you go to. And I think this is it, isn't it? Word of mouth and positive reviews, and whether you write on Google or wherever, you can support in lots of other ways. And I think that's so
Yeah.
important. So yeah.
Well, it is, and also I think the comment on excess is an interesting one because I also think a lot of people then get too much fabric and you don't use the fabric you've got. Like I've
Yeah.
definitely noticed this about my fabric stash. All the projects I'm doing at the moment, except for one, is with new fabric because a lot of that fabric I've really gone through and pruned it down. But I think when I started sewing, I didn't know what I liked sewing
Yeah.
and I didn't have as clear an idea of what I need in my wardrobe. If Sam is on a low buy year, I am on a sort of conscious making year
Mm.
of only making stuff that I'm actually going to wear that's in my wardrobe. Now, that doesn't mean like boring everyday stuff. I made a black lace dress I'm wearing to a party this weekend, but it needs to be stuff I'm actually going to wear
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's no point otherwise. It's a lot of money and a lot of time for something that's never going to get worn.
And I think there was a phase, I got out of it quite quickly, but there was a phase where I bought fabrics because I thought they were nice, but I didn't think about whether I would wear them. And for me, that's two separate things in that I can really love a fabric or a pattern or a colour, but I would never wear it. And separating those two and saying, that is beautiful, that is phenomenal, but actually I'm not going to wear it. It was really big for me because obviously I like big prints, I like bold colour, but even then, there's still ones that I then had sat in they're not there anymore. They're all gone, but they were sat there and I just would never wear it. So I was like, why didn't I think of that when I bought it? But I got over that quite quickly. And then I don't think I'll ever be a person who doesn't have a fabric collection. And by that, I mean a collection of different bits and pieces. I will always be one of those people because, a la the So Yellow Friendo top I've made, I
Mm.
love the creative challenge of getting out things, playing with things, trying out ideas. And, if I want to make like a memory quilt, I want to dig through all my bits. And I buy like vintage tablecloths and vintage sheets. And they are the kind of thing that I will only ever see that one vintage sheet
Yeah.
once. And so I accept and recognise that I will always be a person who has a certain amount, but I also accept and recognise I went too far for myself. When I realised I was having to squeeze fabric under the bed, that was too much.
And that is, and
Yeah,
just because it's something you like and it's for a hobby doesn't
yeah,
mean it can't be detrimental to you as well.
yes,
Like,
yeah.
for me, if I have too much fabric, I lose any kind of inspiration. It's too overwhelming. It's too much. I can't do it. It just doesn't work for me. Whereas when I don't have enough fabric, equally, there's that like, oh, I don't even know what I want to do and I don't have enough of this. I think one thing, if I could direct people towards if you want to support shops, one of the things you can do is buy patterns
Mm.
from independent shops and independent, even if it's like a McCall's pattern or something, you can buy that from an independent shop or buy your notions from them.
Just going to say
Notions
that.
are a really common one.
Please don't buy it from Amazon. Please buy it from a small shop and just wait 5 days for it to arrive. No one
Yeah,
needs a zip
no,
today. We've all got enough clothes and enough things. Yeah.
yeah.
Or
Or I
or
Jacobs
any
is
of
my
them.
favorite.
Yeah.
Well, Jacobs is my favorite because it seems to arrive in 24 hours, regardless of what
Yeah,
delivery
but
I
you've got
take.
William G. And actually,
Yeah,
most of the fabric shops as well also
yeah,
sell notions.
exactly.
It's the I was talking to my partner. We went for a walk today because the sun was out, thank goodness. And we were talking about we were talking about this lorry. There was this very elderly man riding a bike, and there was a traffic island coming up. So this lorry in a 30 miles an hour, huge lorry, like one of these ones where they stick all the soil in the back. Decided he would accelerate to try and overtake the cyclist before the traffic island came. And I know it doesn't feel like it's sewing, but it will come, don't worry. And I said to my partner, I said, so many of us have been conned into this. Every second needs to be saved. Every second counts. He's on a job. He's driving something from one place to another. Surely that 10-second difference between overtaking that cyclist there or when the road is safer wouldn't mean that he's going to be late for his job. And they should have allowed that anyway, because it's traffic, he's driving. But that man, well, had a really unpleasant experience of a very fast, very loud, very heavy lorry going really close to him.
Yeah,
And I said to my partner, I said, so many of us have been conned into this, like, now, fast, fast, do this, I said, the most rebellious thing we can really do right now is to slow down, is to think,
yeah,
is to make conscious decisions, is to consider things, because it's the opposite of what they want, the big they want us to do. And I think
yeah,
that goes for sewing as well. I know we think we need the elastic tomorrow to finish the blouse, but will you wear the blouse tomorrow? Do you not have
yeah.
another blouse you can wear tomorrow?
There aren't that many, and to be fair, I've been in one of those situations. There aren't that many situations where you genuinely do need it in the morning.
Yeah.
There are some. There are
There's
some.
very
Something
odd
breaks, he has to wear
occasion.
it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's so much more rare than you think it is.
Mm. And
And I
actually,
think,
the price isn't much cheaper anymore now. I was watching a
no,
really interesting program about Amazon now. It's not cheaper anymore. There was a time when it
no.
was cheaper. It is not.
I used to I used to buy a lot of books from Amazon because there used to be the used book option.
Yeah.
There still is, and it's often cheaper. But
But
that's
they're
when I
full of
was
other
younger.
companies
It was like,
anyway.
oh, brilliant. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
exactly. And then it's just it's important to support independent shops, but
Mm.
not at the detriment as well of your own income. And like
Yeah.
not your income, but your own financial position as well. We are in an economic downturn.
Mm.
Like there is pressure to consume and pressure to shop, but also I know that there can be social guilt that like use it or lose it. But we mean that in like a if if you're making a choice to buy some fabric, choose it from an independent retailer, not you have to shop with absolutely everybody at the detriment of your own financial well-being.
Definitely. And also have a look at the price comparisons. Don't just assume that it is cheaper because things are not anymore. And that's the same in anywhere. Like when I go to Home Bargains, I know roughly what things cost because not everything in any of these bargain places is cheaper. They're not all cheap. So
Yeah.
just watch out. And also just remember that what's at the top of the Google search results, they've paid to be at the top. Just scroll
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit further
that's so
down.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, either they pay to be at the top or they have phenomenally good SEO,
Yeah.
but it's not popularity that puts you at the
No.
top. It's domain
Scrolling.
authority and
Yeah.
legitimacy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about this? Has been a long episode already. How do we feel about the sentence? How do we feel about the topic sentence of the episode?
I have to say, the person I am now, I do feel that actually there is a lot of identity placed to an extent on fabric stashing, and almost like a wall has gone up, like, don't criticize me for buying lots of fabric. And
Yeah.
I feel that I want to be able to have that open conversation, without and actually that level of protectiveness of like, don't criticize me is almost like because I don't want to do the work, so don't make me
Mm.
feel uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about anybody at all. There's no particular one
No,
person
no,
I'm
no, no.
directing that
It's
at.
just no. You see millions of memes and posts and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah,
all
yeah.
over the internet about it. Yeah, we're definitely not like talking about
No,
anyone
and
specific
and
here.
I'm,
And also,
I'm like I'm not there for that. I'm not there for the can't have an open conversation about
no,
this actually yes, fabric is beautiful, fabric is lovely. You can look at it and you can enjoy it. You don't have to buy it to enjoy it.
no,
And also, I think that I love that people. Someone put a comment on my YouTube the other day. Said I put it in the basket because that does enough. I just put it in the virtual basket. I don't press buy, but it's enough. I've got
yeah.
my
I
I've got
save
my
stuff on
dopamine.
Vinted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you get that little
Uh,
save, and it's really nice.
yeah, I do get a bit icky now about constant. I just, yeah, I just, I don't know. I'm a person with a lot of fabric, so does that mean I can say it? Yes, of course, because I've got my own opinion. But yeah, I just think we can go places and enjoy it without coming away with a giant bag full. That's how I
Yeah,
see it.
I'm also gonna throw something out there from we're gonna get PhD Jess for a minute. Lots of leisure and hobby activities involve the symbolic accumulation of artifacts, which are objects with significance to us. Now, there is some evidence to say that the more visual your hobby is, the more you can see it, the more kind of content and justified you feel in like doing it. So sometimes what happens is that people who are hiding their stuff away because they have to tidy all their sewing stuff up at the end of the day and pack it away, aren't getting the same kind of visual confirmation of their hobby.
Mm.
And so they're buying or browsing online to make you feel connected with your hobby. So
Hmm.
what I would suggest is it's not possible for everybody, but even if you can just see your sewing machine, even if you can get like I did this when we used to well, we still live in a one bed flat, but we used to live in a tiny one bed maisonette. And I had a sewing table the size of a postage stamp. And the rule was everything had to fit within the footprint of the table. And it did. And it was, I had to still pack everything away, but I could see it. And I could see my fabric and I could see my machine. And it was like, oh, that's my stuff because it makes you feel tied to it. But when you can't see it and there is that pressure as well that builds up of, oh, to do it, I've got to unpack everything. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm going to draw a musical example here, but it's going to come back round. I played the cello for 20 years, 15, 20 years. And I have played the piano for 23 years, possibly longer. I do and have done throughout my life probably 6 to 7 times as much piano practice as cello practice. Because to practice the cello, you have to go and get a chair, and then you have to find a rug to stick your spike into, and then you have to get your cello out, and then you have to put your spike out, and then you have to tune the whole thing, and then you find some rosin, and then you have to retighten your bow because it's loosened again. Then you have to find a music stand to put all your music out on it. And then 40 minutes later, you're actually ready to do some practice. To do piano practice, you sit down. That's it.
Yeah.
And that ease of access means that you'll do it if you're walking past it.
Mm.
But when you can't see your hobby, you are more likely to latch on to other forms of relating with your
Yeah.
hobby, some of which may not actually be as healthy for you. So have a think. If you're someone who goes, oh, do you know what? Buying fabric really connects me with my sewing. Have a
Mm.
think about why you're not feeling that otherwise. Because there's a chance that it's your way of having a quick, what Stebbins would call casual leisure fix.
Mm.
Instantly rewarding, instantly fun, but you're not actually doing anything. Sewing is serious leisure. Fabric buying is casual leisure.
Love it.
Intrinsically
Love that.
rewarding. So I'm going to throw that out there. We're not trying to make you feel bad, but as always, we want you to question what you do
Yeah.
and the relationship you have with your hobby.
And counter us if you
Yeah.
feel completely differently. Do message us, do counter us, because these are our opinions that we formed over various stages, and that's the whole point of this, is that it is a conversation. And I have to say, I think that's really interesting, because part of my year is about creating creative breathing space, and what I want is to have a space where I can actually put a selection of fabrics and patterns that I want to think about right now. And
Yeah.
so I've started to do that. So just behind the iron that's on my
Oh,
left
lovely.
shoulder, is a little shelf now where I've shopped my stash and picked some fabrics that then go there that I think about.
Ooh, that's
And I think,
exciting.
yeah, because I think that I enjoy the whole mulling and planning and thinking, and you're right. It's quite easy when you're sat on the sofa in the evening with your phone in your hand to look at fabrics and mull and do it, and then before you know it, you've pressed buy on a shop, and you're excited when they arrive, and then you're in the middle of another project, and then they go on the shelf, and then you forgot what you want to do with them, and then you've got too many, and so by
Yes.
having that
It
little
just spirals out of
selection.
control.
Yeah, and as you say, by having that little selection that you can see, you can do that same process without it needing to be another purchase. And I also think that, I know I am someone that likes to shop my stash and likes a variety, because I might suddenly get a pang to make a blouse and I want to go and have a select from what I've got. But I think that when I realise, for me, I've done 62 days now of low buy. And when I realised that when I said creative breathing space, I didn't 100% know what it would look like when I started. But one of the things I've realised is I wasn't sometimes sewing the pattern that I wanted to sew because it might have taken me longer to sew it. And I was sewing quicker patterns because I felt I needed to sew fast enough to almost match the output with the amount arriving in. So I
Yeah.
was then going, if I sew an easy, quick pattern, I can match I was trying to keep an
I can
equilibrium of,
get it into the wardrobe to make
yeah,
space for the new
for
stuff
the
coming
next
in.
bit coming
Yeah.
in. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to, I want to be able to sit and do a tricky new pattern, or I want to do like I did, I know I'm going to keep talking about it, but the So Yellow Ferendo make took a month,
It's
from,
so beautiful though, and so worth it.
but I think the reason I'm talking about it so much is because actually it is always what I've loved doing, but I took it away from myself accidentally with my level of shopping. And
Yeah.
so I could go and pull from my stash a selection of fabrics that had a yellowness to them, and I sat with them, and I've lived with that pile, mulling about colours that go with yellow and what I needed in my wardrobe and all that. I've loved it. I've loved it, and I've loved that. Suddenly one day I went, I know what I want to do, and then
And that's
going,
a beautiful moment to go
yes,
like that. Just allow that creativity
yeah.
to settle on you.
Yeah, and then
And
to spend a couple of hours on a Saturday, I had no power, so I couldn't sew anyway, but matching all the different fabrics, laying them out to work out which one would go next to each other, where, and that sort of thing. And I know that is not for everyone, but it might be that actually it could be for you. But are you so stuck on the train of sew by, sew by, sew by that you don't have time or
Yeah.
the space
No,
or the
completely.
mental space to do it?
Exactly. Now, I think we could talk about this topic
Yeah.
for several years.
Yeah.
But I'm very conscious that we've been going a while and we
Mm,
have something we want to talk about, but I think we should do it next time
I
because
think so.
I want to know what you guys think about this topic. Email us at sonewbiscuit
Mm.
at gmail.com, message the podcast, comment on our reels, whatever you want to do. Tell us if this is resonating with you, how you feel about it, and if there's anything as well on this topic you'd like to hear more about. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
as you can tell, it's something we're
Or
very passionate about.
if you think we haven't considered something at all that should have been considered, we'd love to know.
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
goodness, we are not a podcast that you have to agree with all the time.
No.
But we are incredibly open to you telling us respectfully. Please don't send us, vitriolic diatribes, but send us your thoughtful emails. Tell us if you think we're wrong. Tell us stuff
Yeah.
and tell us in your email as well if you're happy for us to talk about it on the podcast. We'll always keep you anonymous, but if you're happy for us to talk about your emails and comments and stuff, let us know. Because we really appreciate it. Now, I think that's us for today. So, we had better let hopefully our lovely listeners get to see us in person. We hope you've
Yeah.
also had a great time today. If you're listening today and you've also heard us today, you've had a double bill. Is there anything you would like to remind anyone about Sam at the end of the episode?
Don't think so.
We've done this episode in reverse and I've really
Yes.
enjoyed it. It's been
Yeah.
really
My
fun.
brain's a bit like, so no,
I
I
know.
think, yeah, keep commenting. And I would say our biggest challenge right now is reaching new audience.
Yes.
We love the audience that we have, but we won't get pushed further if people don't leave reviews on the platforms where you can. And I appreciate that on some platforms you can't, but we'd really
Yeah.
appreciate that
Well,
because
Apple
that's how they
Apple
know.
Podcasts
Yeah.
particularly is the one that pushes you. The more recent reviews you
Yeah.
have, the more you get pushed. So do us a favor, leave us 5 stars,
Mm,
please. Thank you. Or whatever stars you think, but it'd be nice if it was high.
yeah.
And a wee comment and just keep sharing us with your pals. But until next week, next time, 2 weeks'
Yeah.
time, you will hear our live episode, which is so exciting. So I think all we have to say is bye bye for now. And thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.